welcome
What was I
back.
going to say?
I don't know. I'll just go to.
Again.
Well, welcome back. This is Giving Up the Ghost, and I'm Jas.
And I'm Sher.
And this is Halloweeny week. It's our special week leading up to Halloween on Thursday.
The big day.
The big day. The big candy grab.
Yeah.
The big and then Friday, and then I guess the next day, November 1st, is they call Insulin Friday. I don't know.
Yeah. Diabetic.
Diabetic Friday.
Yeah, sugar rush, sugar crash.
Sugar crash, yeah. Did you ever with your boy, you have to go through the candy, but do you take inventory?
You know what? The last time we were doing it, he had everything friggin' organized. He's like, there's this many Doritos, this many chips. And I'm like, okay, well, you can keep all the chips here. I'll eat those.
Yeah.
You and your father fight over all that sweet shit because there's only so much I can take.
And then do you take like a picture with him, like it's almost like a trophy thing, like with like, like a mounted deer head or something, like, in the hunters, and then you do the obligatory shot, like, look what I've got.
Look at all my crap.
This is my haul. Yeah, this is what I bagged. No.
I hope he wasn't going through. Then he was, and then I'm like, you really want to walk around in this weather? He's like, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
I mean, there's good and bad points to older kids going. Like.
Oh, for sure.
It's harmless and it's fun as long as they're not hurting the little kids and stuff. And they want to have a good time too. It keeps them from playing like spin the bottle and taking shots in somebody's basement.
Always spin the bottle.
Not that I know what that's about, but so I've been told.
No.
Yes. No. Today's episode is actually, this is, I think this is a record for us. We're recording on Tuesday, on the 29th, and this episode's going out on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's our 42nd episode. So
42.
We don't really have anything informative or inspiring or overly real creepy ramblesode or locally in tune to talk about.
No.
So I came up with this little idea since I'm a writer. And Sherry is Sherry's a writer. Like, I like that story you sent me last year. Like, that's good. You got to pursue that. It had me enthralled. It was good.
So much time.
I know. Oh, honey, you're preaching. I still know about the time concept when it comes to writing. I have none of that. But,
yeah.
What we thought we would like to do is we would read you each one of our stories, an excerpt from Sherry's longer. I would think that would be almost like a novella. Were you hoping to put it into like a book format or just?
Yeah. I want to make it longer. I think to me it's about a third of the way done only. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I have more to pull out of my brain and throw down on paper.
The way I've formalized it, because I've looked a lot into writing and all that kind of crap, depending on your word count, yours might be more towards a novella, perhaps, depending on your pace, right? The two that I picked out are two of my short stories from my catalog, and not from.
That's one.
From who?
And you have an extensive one.
Oh, fuck. I've got so many short stories and books that I've written and I gotta pursue, and the horror. Anyway,
you should compile it all and slap it all together.
I know. Well, the Creepy Me is 3/4 done. Sherry, I've strongholded her into helping me get some beautiful artwork done at some point. So I'm hoping sooner than later I'm going to self-publish that one. It'll be a smaller book. But that's nonfiction. That's nonfiction, right? Like, it's all my own personal experiences. And I do have other in my repertoire. I do have smaller stories. I had a couple up on Kindle for sale, and I didn't sell too many, but like, whatever, right? Time consuming. So today, to delight you, we thought we'd sample you folks with all 8 of you. No, I'm just kidding. There's like. You know what? We get like a couple more followers every day on Facebook. I think we have now 532 this morning.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
As of this morning.
As of this morning, yeah. And overall...
I haven't even been on Facebook yet.
I know. Overall downloads on Spreaker, which is the format, the platform that we use for our spreading our ghost love across the world, we're nearing 4,000 downloads in total.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and that's over 42 episodes now. keeping in mind that's not really an accurate count of the first 7 because we were with the other network there, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
probably lost maybe about 1,000 maybe, I would say.
Yeah.
Hazard
Yeah.
a guess, yeah. Anyway,
Right.
but that's all water under the proverbial haunted bridge.
The haunted bridge. Yay for haunted bridges.
Because it's Halloween. Woo! Do you want to read your story first?
Do I want to read mine first?
With your sexy voice.
I don't know. It's short, so I
With
could.
your sexy voice.
I picked 2 little things. So we're going to do 2 shows?
Yes, we're going to do 2.
Okay, so I just picked a short one then.
Okay.
I have no name for this book yet, by the way, so
okay.
I don't know what it's going to be called.
We could do a part 2 on your story if you want to read part now, and then the other one for tomorrow, and then I can just do 2 of my short stories. You know what I mean? Like how we used to tag team, we used to do 2 per episode type deal.
Yeah, whenever you want. I'll read this one. I'll read this little short blurb, and then whatever we so desire to do, I guess we shall do.
All right. So intro your story, and you take it away.
Take it away, intro. Well, I'm not going to say what happened beforehand, really, will I?
No, but just the name of the story.
I don't know what it's called yet.
You said it was Sweeper Town.
No, I never actually picked the name yet.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I know, it's unnamed. It's an unnamed one anyway. Okay, I just have a part here where it's sort of after an event that happens, but...
An apocalyptic, perhaps, event.
It could be. It could be a very bad event, yes.
Sure.
Okay, I will start here. Emily bundled everything up and tied a knot in the old blanket. She slung it over her shoulder and slowly opened the front door. It creaked so loudly in the dead air. She stopped and listened. Barely a breath escaped her lips as she strained to hear any footsteps. Nothing. The coast was clear. She slunk around the corner to the door that led upstairs to the junk man's flat. It had been nailed shut and scrawled in red there were 3 circles, placed in a row in the center. The darkness was beginning to swallow her, and panic was threatening to reveal her location. She had looked toward the sky to see the last bit of sun disappear, the last shimmer revealing the window that gave light to the stairwell. She could climb. She had always been a great climber. Emily poked her head through the blanket loop and jumped. It was too high. Panic began to knot her throat, and her heart began to pound in her ears. She looked around for anything to give her a boost. There, in the gutter, she found a stick of wood. Not huge, but just maybe. She propped it upright on one end against the wall and stepped up gingerly, clawing at the open windowsill. She scampered up, pulling with all her might, to wedge in through the small opening. She fell inside on the stairs, sweat dripping from her brow. Looking down, her perched stick fell over, back into the muck. No trace that anyone had been there. Emily reached outside and quietly closed the shutters. It was black as pitch in the tiny stairwell, and her eyes scanned frantically for a droplet of light to guide her way. Her nose filled with the musty smell of damp wood and mold. It nearly made her sneeze as her eyes began to bead up with tears to wash the dust away. She knew she had to climb up. On her hands and knees, she touched the beams beneath her. The stairs were rough, and splinters threatened to pierce her skin with every inch she crawled. Her head cracked into the door at the summit and shocked Emily. She had instinctively closed her eyes. They had been useless, really. They popped wide open with the scare, and now she could see a faint glow slipping out from under the door. Blindly, she caressed the wooden barrier, searching for the way in. The door opened easily, and a sense of relief washed over her body like a warm breeze. This was her new home for now. Once inside, her hands went into action. She looked like a blind raccoon searching for food in a stream. Mom always had put matches and candles by the door. She hoped the man had also. She heard something plummet to the floor below and slowed her search. Quiet, Emily, quiet, she told herself. Finally, success. The match lit with the rage of a miniature dragon, blowing fire and sulphuric breath in the air. Her pupils constricted with such intensity it actually hurt her eyes. She scanned for a candle and quickly lit it before the flames creeped up the match to lick her fingertips. Emily stood there for a moment in the orange bubble of light, taking stock of her surroundings. I'll stop there.
Okay. Bravo.
Okay.
Very cool.
Oh, bravo.
Bravo. Bravissimo.
Because then it goes on, so I had to try and just pick tiny little crumbs of thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll leave part 2 for tomorrow. How about that?
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So I'll read you a short story that I wrote. Little creepy story.
Little creepy?
Little creepy. I couldn't tell you the word count here, but this one is actually called Beauty is in the Eye. The leaves were settling on the ground just as the rain poured down to flatten them against one another. Premature darkness seemed to make the landscape that much more bleak and ominous. Dawson sat unaffected in his room as he had been doing every day and night since the accident. He was waiting for Haley to arrive. In the distance down the hallway he could hear the chimes from the grandfather clock echo throughout the house that it was 5 o'clock. She always appeared at 6, making sure he ate his supper and took his medication. It was the same routine that they had for years. Haley was the love of his life, and no matter what life would throw at him, she was always there for him. Patiently he waited. The years seemed to have taken their toll on Dawson, as he feared his aging appearance might repulse Haley at some point, and she might no longer make her daily visits. He truly believed if it weren't for the accident, they would have been married by now and built the life together that she had always dreamed for them. The explosion had robbed Dawson of much more than just his physical aspects. The overanalyzing each and every day of how things could have been done differently that day of the accident and what he might have done differently to prevent it. It was slowly dissolving his sanity. It was pulling him deeper and deeper into depression. He was living in his own private hell every day of his life. Chime, 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 chime. The clock at the other end of the house signaled it was 6 o'clock. Dawson's pulse quickened. His throat tightened as he swept his fingers through his hair to keep it out of his face and pull himself together for his love. He could smell the scent of her Chanel perfume waft into the room. No sooner the clock finished, Haley arrived. Just seeing her standing there in the doorway to his bedroom was a wave of relief that rushed through his veins. She was a sight to see. Tight-fitting blue jeans, a loosely fitting pink Chanel blouse that draped over her shoulders but left her forearms exposed. Her hair was chestnut brown, with a single strand of blue-gray that hung over her forehead. Her pale skin seemed to illuminate the room. As soon as their eyes met, she smiled the sweetest smile that caused a dimple on each cheek at the curve of her mouth to form. Too irresistible not to kiss, it was the last thing he ever wanted to see. Haley carried an innocence about her, yet she was intelligent in so many ways that there were so many topics she knew a lot about, but preferred to remain quiet. But not when she came to visit. "Hey, stranger," she greeted him as she made her way across the room to take a seat beside him on the bed, as she did every night. He could not remove his stare off of her. She captivated him. She was his only reward for sustaining a non-existence. Her visits were the only thing that kept him going. "Good evening, beautiful. You're a sight for sore eyes, I must say," Dawson retorted. The two souls sat together on the bed, but as always their time was short. After making small talk, the pair gazed in each other's eyes. It was only the medicine that Dawson would ever really need. No pills, no therapy, or mobility aids could ever replace the healing power of Haley's visits. Dawson would never be 100% again, but that didn't matter. They were locked in time. The seasons may change, but the mutual love and respect for one another was eternal. Just as the two drew closer to one another, Haley turned her face away. She shook her head back and forth. "No, no," she said softly. In doing so, it exposed the gaping gash that trailed from her right temple all the way down to her collarbone. She was still disfigured, a souvenir that remained on her neck from the accident. "I can't. I love you too much. It hurts too much," she explained, as she often did when he tried to touch her during their visit. Dawson couldn't help but feel rejected, for as much as he needed to touch her, he knew how much damage he'd caused both of them. He knew he should never have gotten behind the wheel the night of their engagement party. His pride got the worst of him, and he refused to let Haley drive home. It was a tragic judgment call that caused them to be forever apart. "I have to go again, my love. Take care of yourself," she wished him. It was never easy to see her go, as she was ushered out by the chiming of the grandfather clock from the other end of the huge empty house, ringing at the 7 o'clock hour. He held his head in his hands, and before he could plead or beg her to stay any longer, she was gone. He felt his own disfigurement had to do something with her hesitation on accepting the kiss, the same attempt he had made 1,000 times without success.